Hello everybody, Jose Rodriguez here. Finally, and unless you've been living under a rock and not watching my videos, you may have missed the fact that Precisioncolors revised their ink set to probably what's going to become the best ink set available for what printer, you may ask. The Pro-100, of course, from Canon. As you can see, these are 8 colors here, and they represent the original colors, except all of them have been improved, including the yellow and the black, which are the culprits when it comes to print fading. Now, I'm going to talk a lot before I begin to show you the actual results, because I want to make sure that you really get this process correctly. Now, what I did recently, I had to go back and dig up my resources that I have here, and I did locate a full set of OEM cartridges so that I can have some sort of baseline to compare these new inks to. People ask me, why don't you just compare them to the regular PC42 inks? And I said, what for? The whole point is to come up with an ink set that closely matches, as close as possible. It's impossible to match 100%. So don't get that expectation in you. It is impossible, okay, no matter what you do, unless you have access to their very expensive raw products. You will never, as a lab, that is, be able to really duplicate the incredible characteristics of this particular ink set. And here I have, let me get this here so you can see. Let me move my recorder down before I have an accident. Alrighty, make sure that we are recording. Yes, we are. Alrighty, so here we are, finally done with the OEM cartridges. And I want to show you something really funny that you may kind of find strange and may cause you to sort of question yourself. And I'm just going to show you the magenta, because they're all the same. They all have the same thing going on, if you will. Let me put these down. So we got the magenta cartridge, and take a look at the top portion of the sponge. Notice it is white. It is devoid of ink. That's the way it was when I was brand new. I peeled the plastic covering off. I took that little tape tab off of the vent right here, and I said, wow, that's kind of weird. Now, the upper portion of the sponge, and by the way, if you didn't know this, these sponges are dual layer sponges with 2 different densities, okay, a high density and a lower density. And I believe, I don't know which one is which, I'll tell you the truth, I'll be honest with you, but they do have clearly, as you can see extremely clearly, 2 different layers. And guess what? Look at the top, is kind of full of air, isn't it? Well, notice my liquid chamber. Take a quick look. It hasn't dropped at all. You know what's happened? That the oversaturated sponge has actually migrated into the liquid chamber. This is the perfect condition that OEM cartridges like to be at. Now, why? Because I have never tampered with these. These have not been tampered. I have not pulled that fill ball out, the factory ball. Okay, when you do that, all bets are off. Okay, now you're dealing with a slightly different set of hydraulic conditions, if you will. This is the way they operate. This chamber hasn't dropped 1 iota, and I have printed quite a bit with it. So keep that in mind if you guys are still using OEM. For those of you who may be considering selling your prints, I suggest, no matter how good these inks are, you need to provide your customers with the best inks available. And these are it. OEM, of course, is king. But take a look at that. Isn't that strange? Eventually, this is going to drop, okay? Don't be afraid. It will drop. Okay, so how do we get ready to migrate from these inks over to the new ink set? And by the way, it is available as I speak. You can order your sets now. I believe that the large volume shipment came in. He was alone without a wife for a week, so he was able to bottle and get ready to start shipping these new refilling kits, if you will. Everything that you buy now that comes with a resetter for the chips will contain the new inks. Okay, they will be bottled with the new inks. Now, if you wish, you could buy the old inks, but you know, why bother? And I'm going to show you later on the results. Now, getting ready to begin to use these inks requires that you have good flushed cartridges. Why do you want flushed cartridges? Well, you want to make sure that you're using these inks and only these inks. Why would you want to take a chance of mixing with the older PC inks? You may or may not see the difference, but why bother? So what I recommend, and again, this is going to cost you an extra $60, and I'm not making a penny from this little pitch that I'm going to throw at you. I'm going to put a link, an eBay store, not really a store, but an eBay site that has the pre-flushed, pre-modified cartridge sets ready to go with a nice expensive clip. That's the good clip. And of course the plug ready to be refilled. All you need to buy now are the inks and the resetter. And the best way to go, folks, the best way to go is with these, because you simply, there's nothing here right now. There's no plug on here. And if you saw my refilling video that I did using a yellow cartridge, a flush yellow cartridge, you saw how easy that is. Here's what you do. Clean this with an alcohol pad. Clean the opening with an alcohol pad. You're dealing with dye inks, which are susceptible to contaminants, biologicals. Yes, they are. So even though the ink base itself contains a biocide, if you let your ink sit for 6 months, 8 months, 10 months, and you've been sticking needles in those bottles, i.e. these right here, chances are you already contaminated your inks. Okay, you have to work clean. So you're going to take an alcohol pad and clean that needle. You can get that at any drugstore. Take your cartridge, the empty cartridge with a clip attached, of course, and already reset. Upside down, just like that, and now flip the bottle over. That will diminish any chance, in fact, eliminate any chance of, if I tip this over, there's a chance a droplet of ink might actually come out simply because of the weight of the volume of ink that I have in this bottle. So again, insert it like so, flip the cart over with the bottle and refill it. And allow it to migrate. It will take a couple of minutes to migrate and completely saturate that sponge. It will be completely saturated because you have this open, whereas the factory cartridge is sealed. After refilling, it is sealed with a specific amount of ink. So no problems, no worries. Just let it saturate the sponge, put the plug in there. You have to clip on, of course, so you don't get any drips. And fill it to about that far from the top. I cannot give you an exact measurement, but about 1/8 of an inch from the top. Now, take your cartridge over to a paper cup or a tin can or something that you don't care getting dirty. Remove the clip. It should maybe drip once and then do not drip at all. That means that this plug is sealing properly. Now let's test ink flow. Remove the plug. Again, with no clip, over a bottle or a tin can. Drip, 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 drip at that rate. I have a video that clearly displays that. Check out my CLI-42 playlist. I have over almost 50 playlists now, okay? They're all classified by subject. Don't waste your time asking me a specific question. It's all there. Just do a little search. Search my playlist and you will find a video that will answer your question. I bet you. Anyway, so once you establish that the ink flow is correct, plug it back up, put the clip on it, remove the plug and top it back off because of course you just lost a couple of ml possibly of ink. Top it back off and seal it and you're ready to go. Do the next cartridge. Make sure that you, if I'm doing, what is this, black. If I'm doing black and I have all my bottles here and all my cartridges out, take the black cartridge and the black bottle after you look at it and determine that in fact that is a perfect match. Move it over to a slightly different location just to isolate this cartridge, the black one, away from the rest of the bottles, the black one, and then proceed. That will eliminate any mistakes. What mistakes could you make? You could make a really serious mistake. Photo cyan, regular cyan, you could possibly do this. Yeah, I've done it. Magenta, photo magenta, you could possibly do this. Gray, light gray, you could possibly mix those. So please, just if you take one thing home, separate. I know it's easy to just set up all your cartridges there and just go to town. No, take your black, find your black ink, go over there somewhere, and then do it. Isolate it from this little mess right here, and that will pretty much eliminate any refilling errors. Are we ready to look? I think we are. So the first thing that you will do once you fill up all your cartridges, you're going to go ahead and insert them into your printer. Allow the printer to run its purge cycle. That may or may not be enough to clear any previous ink. In my case, it was original ink. Okay, that's what I originally had in the printer. I had PC prior to that, but I went ahead and loaded these OEM cartridges. I ran a cleaning cycle after that. And as you can see, my liquid chambers, pretty much all of them are still full. I don't know where the ink came from. Tell you the truth, the sponge possibly. So once you run that cleaning cycle, after the purge cycle that it will perform automatically when you close the lid, after you have inserted the ink cartridges, then run a nozzle check. Please do not forget to run a nozzle check. It should be 100%. You should have dark gray bands here with no evidence of any other color. Okay? Black, 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 neutral, neutral, neutral. And of course, your color bands should not have any streaks across. Okay? Once you reach that point, I will let the printer just sit for a couple of hours. Run another nozzle check just to make sure. And then proceed to print what? A standard image. That's what you want to start with. My evaluation image, I believe it's V002. It's available in my Facebook group. In fact, download the whole pack. Just don't download the same, just a single image. If you want a single image, fine. But I have a whole pack of images that you can use to test various things in your printer, various types of conditions, if you will. So you will print your standard image. You will set the driver to color, manual intensity, whatever it's called. I keep forgetting what that's called, but you know what I mean. On a Windows machine, I don't know about Mac. So this is for Windows guys, okay, and gals. Now, click on that little box. It will open up the next window, which shows you the manual adjustment sliders. Of course, you don't touch those. You click on matching, and this time you're going to print with simply the driver controlling color. When you click on matching and then choose ICM, the driver will control color by using a matching Canon profile to match the Canon paper you are using, and that's the catch. Initially, you better be printing with a Canon paper, okay? That's the only demand that I make when you start using these inks. Not some other third-party manufacturer. Use Canon papers, choose ICM, and then if it's Pro Luster, in the case of mine, all of them were printed on Pro Luster paper. So choose Pro Luster paper on the drop-down menu, high quality, letter size, or whatever the case is. And I set up a job in Qimage so that I can then recall that same job. It'll pull all of the images into the viewer, and then I can go ahead and print them with exactly the same settings before OEM and then after PC Signature Edition. That's it. Let's begin. Okay, so I'm going to show you two images, and I hope the lighting is even enough. There is a slight difference between the two prints when I look at them visually. Okay, but what you're looking for in this particular image, this is your standard. This is why it's called a standard image. This is what you want to set as a baseline for your printer. This result is what the printer is able to reproduce on its own from an image that is considered pretty much perfect. Okay, so what we have here, let me get over here so I can also look at what I'm trying to show you guys. It's very difficult here, as you can see. Anyway, what I see is a slight difference in, you want to call contrast maybe, and slight difference in neutrality. Now, it may look more exaggerated on video, but the way I see it here, I sort of prefer this one, okay, to that one. This one's excellent, don't get me wrong, but this one just has, I don't know, the strawberries just look a little bit more edible, if you will. The skin tones on the children here are just fantastic. My black to white is neutral and linearly neutral, and so is this one. So now I'm gonna kind of tell you what each is. This one here, right, wait a minute, let me get it right. Let me look, because I don't even know. This one here is OEM. It says so right in the back. OEM ink. This one here is Precisioncolors inks. Again, letting the driver control color. Why? Why are we doing that? Why are we letting the driver control color? Because now, this will only apply probably not to the vast majority of you viewers, because you know what you're doing possibly, and you may be already well versed in the use of ICC profiles and the color managed process, as we call it. But if you're a raw beginner, you just got this printer on some fantastic sale, practically for $50, $80, $100 after rebate, and you just want to print, your images, and you want to make sure that from the get-go, you're able to produce really, really great results that pretty much match your monitor. Of course, you have to have your monitor calibrated to this output. We're not going to get into that because we'd be here all night. So the idea is, in a nutshell, you print your standard image. This is my Precisioncolors. Yeah. You print your standard image, okay? Letting the driver control color through matching an ICM Pro luster paper or glossy, whatever, 2 or N, whatever you have, as long as it's a Canon paper and there's a drop down menu for it. When you choose ICM in matching tab, it will load that matching profile. So you're basically printing with a full-blown color management workflow. Anyway, even though you think you're not, you really are. That's how good that driver is. Now, you have calibrated your monitor, so you think, but what if the color is slightly, say, it looks great here when you look at it under lighting conditions like I'm using here, but your screen kind of looks a little bit yellowish? That means you have to recalibrate your monitor and use a higher white point or a higher D temperature. D55 maybe shows a little bit yellow on your monitor. Raise it up to D65, which is the default setting anyway for most calibrators. So make sure that you match your color density, your color hue, by increasing or decreasing the color temperature. Now, you may not be able to do that with a very simple calibrator. I have an i1 Pro 2 X-Rite, so yeah, I can do that by single degrees. So once you calibrate your monitor so it matches this output, remember, this was unaltered. This was letting the driver do it, okay? Letting the driver do it. So now I have to make sure my monitor matches this, because I want anything I edit on that monitor later on down the road to be able to be reproduced by my printer, which was able to reproduce this image beautifully. You see what I mean? It is a very easy process once you match that monitor to this output. This is, your world should revolve around this image here. Okay, this is it. Not your images. Your images are wrong. My images are wrong. This image is not wrong. So this is our standard. Printed, matching ICM. Match the color match the paper choice, and you should be good. You should be able to reproduce this as we see here. And then you have to go back and play around with your calibrator so that you can make your monitor match this output. That's it, you're done. From now on, as you edit and you spend hours editing and fine-tuning your images, it will make sense because your printer will be able to reproduce them. If your prints come out too dark, your image is too dark. Oh, no, it's not. Oh, yes, it is. Yes, it is. That's as simple as that. The printer prints and reproduces what it is given. Okay, if it's too light, even though it looks right on your monitor, the image is too light. If it's too pink or reddish or magenta or greenish or whatever other color other than neutral, that's because that's what your image is. Again, because you're editing it on a monitor that is inserting or introducing a bias. It is actually fooling you into making adjustments. So your image looks perfect, but in reality it is not perfect. And the printer will happily reproduce that. I don't care what profile you use, even if you get into that level of printing, it will still come out off because it's going to reproduce what it receives. Enough of that. Agree or disagree, but that is the gospel truth. All right, let's put this over here. Now let's look at some really just regular everyday images. Well, actually, these are quite good. And unfortunately, they're not mine. I downloaded them from a site. You've seen this one before. And if you were with me Saturday evening, you got to see this. This is a gorgeous pastel looking image of a ballet dancer, a ballerina. And again, I'm just going to switch them around as well as I can. I got to be an octopus here. All right, let's see if we can hold this in some kind of a straight manner. Gosh, pick the one you like best. And again, video is not going to do it justice. You would have to come over here for some coffee and hang out with me and look at these images, these prints. Again, it looks beautiful. They all look beautiful. The only thing that I really love is that one of them seems to have just a little bit more contrast, just a little bit more pop in the shadows. The color seems to match pretty spot on as far as I'm concerned. Again, have a look. This is OEM versus PC Signature Edition. OEM, about $15, $16 a pop per cartridge. I don't know what this is going to turn out to be per refill, maybe $1. That's not too bad, right? Anyway, let's go ahead and look to see which one is which. Oh, okay. Haha. The top is OEM, and I'm going to mix them around. Bottom one is PC. And there you go. Let me just go ahead and put them in front of me. I wish I had some kind of wall with a beautifully lit, evenly lit system here, but I do not. But again, this is just to show you guys what you are to expect when you get this ink set. If you choose to get it, even if you are brand new to a Pro 100 and you're going to be considering refilling, because most of us will do that by virtue of the fact that we just cannot afford the inks because we're not selling prints. We're just printing for fun. Here's this beautiful sunset, I tell you. Let me switch things around a little bit here. Here you go. I hope you guys can see that without too much reflection. I don't know. Maybe you can, maybe you can't. Anyway, again, I'm looking at the blacks. I'm looking at my blacks here. I'm looking at my color. I'm looking at the purples, the slight dark magenta orangey tints. And of course, one of them has to be OEM, so it's going to look great. But gosh, I mean, so does the other one. So which is which? Bottom one is PC and top is OEM. And again, if this is all you showed me, ka-ching, I'd be buying it right now. So, and I'm not trying to be like, you know, try to sell for him. That's his problem. That's his business. I'm just a tester. I just test inks. Now, what about a true black and white image? This is where you will see the difference. Now, this is really a weird phenomenon, and I'm going to tell you guys what that is. And he explained it to me, but it sort of went over my head, to tell you the truth. Let me situate this some weird way that you can tell what I'm talking about. The grays, these two colors right here, is what it's referred to in the biz. In other words, the color engineer people at ink labs as chameleon colors, because they tend to cause slight shifts depending on the paper, okay? And so that's something that exists in the OEM, but not in the third-party versions of these two particular colors, any of the dye gray inks. And I see a difference here. This is pretty much neutral. This is OEM right here. This has got a weird little slight, ever so slight, I don't know, I want to say kind of greenish looking tint. And I remember back in the day when the Pro-100 first came out, even with OEM ink, people were getting results that were slightly greenish in their black and whites. This will be totally resolved by running or producing a custom profile. It would go away like that. In fact, it might even improve it upon a bit. So it's so mild that it's never going to show up in color prints. But black and whites, yeah, this is what he was struggling with. This is what he was struggling with. And the other inkset had even bigger problems because of that very same phenomenon. But other than that, the black is super strong, guys. Oh my gosh. Like this seems like dark gray here. This is OEM. This is like black as the border. The border is 000. And this is supposed to be no detail type black shadow. So even OEM, and remember, anytime you create a custom profile, you actually extend the gamut, if you will, beyond the normal. Look at it as a bubble, a gamut bubble, having all of the different zones, colors, RGB, and yellow, cyan, magenta. And then the south pole is your black. The north pole is your white point. So an OEM profile creates a gamut bubble that doesn't quite reach down to Antarctica. Okay, that's one way I can explain it to you. When you create a profile yourself, you will reach Antarctica. So if the inks are capable of, you will get a slightly deeper black than you do with the OEM profile. And also you will get a better separation of tones. The ramp on the standard image, I can put it with backlit conditions and I can see the very first step and the second step. Nothing got blocked, which is amazing because normally when you print with a driver, that's not really, the best way. But Canon basically is printing with a profile, but that's the OEM profile. So creating your own is always better. And of course, if you're interested, I can make profiles for you. And also, Precisioncolors has made a ton of different paper profiles for the Pro-100 and these inks, and they are free. Okay? All right. How about bright, strong colors? Okay. This is a case where I really don't know which one I like more. A betta fish, super bright, 2 males. They're in fighting mode right now, okay? Well, it's the same fish. But anyway, you can see the beautiful colors. Gosh, the black background is pretty much spot on black. Is it the top one or the bottom one? I don't know unless I look. Okay, now I know. The top one is PC, the bottom one is OEM. PC SE, and OEM. Okay, so there you go. Brightly colored, saturated images print beautifully. If this didn't work out, oh, you would hear from me. Okay, you would hear from me, and so would he. But it turns out that, gosh, I don't know how he did it, but he hit it out of the ballpark. I'm afraid this is going to be a big seller, I hope, for him. You know, I'm set to use it now for life. So now I have a shot of an engine at a car show that was painted a ridiculous purple blue color by the owner, and extremely difficult colors to reproduce with a printer. This printer here can do it because it has a proprietary blue ink. It can handle that. But the other printers rely on cyan and magenta to produce these combinations of colors. So let's go ahead and look. Here's the engine, and here's the other print of the same engine. And I want you guys to take a look at these ridiculous blues and purples. And again, the rest of the engine appears to be chrome. But again, he went nuts with this purple color. And it's truly, truly stunning, if you ask me. So which one is which? Again, this image would kill any other second quality, if you will, inkset, okay? It would destroy it. It wouldn't even get to first base, okay? So which is which? Okay, I will tell you. OEM on top, PC signature edition on the bottom. Beautiful. So I'm looking for tonality changes. That's what will give it away. And, you know, just tell me, oh gosh, this is going to require some crazy form of profiling to just be able to, you know, bring it to the point where it's worth even using. But that seems to not be the case. Now, I have an image here that is not very saturated. It is color, but it is like to the point where it's almost colorless, if you will. And again, another beautiful dancer, backlit this time. And you can see how gorgeous that is. I hope I haven't been glaring these prints at you guys with the lights. It's very difficult for me to see what you guys are seeing. But anyway, as you can see, this is actually gorgeous. The contrast is there. It is beautiful. The dress in the wind right now, you can see how neutral that is because it's just white. It's just white. And apparently the person who edited this really did a great job, I have to say. Anyway, as I always say, you can always reproduce strong colors if your inkset is halfway good. But anything that is subtle, that's where you will see the differences in performance between a so-so inkset and, of course, we're comparing to the best, which is OEM. And let's see, which is which. There's some color in the background there. Which is which? PC on top, OEM on the bottom. Let me aim it this way. Okay. Whew. We got one more pair of prints, and this is a shot that I found. A beautiful Asian ballet dancer just reposts on the studio floor, probably. She's getting her picture taken, obviously, for maybe her portfolio or whatever. And again, it is beautiful pastel-like colors, and I did not touch this image whatsoever. I think her skin tones are a little bit orangey, but hey, that's not for me to judge. That's the way the image was edited by the owner. I'm going to have to show you these separately. I'm sorry, because it's just too large. So I decided to make a big one of this, but look at that. And then I'm going to flip over and put the next one on. You should be able to see like a huge difference, right? That would be the case if I was using someone else's inks. I'm not going to mention names. I've had some problems with other inks. These are performing quite well. Let me see if I can even hold this. What do I have here? Oh, I have something else here. I have a black and white image attached to that. Sorry about that. Let's go ahead and see if I can even begin to line this up some shape, somewhere that you can see the differences. These colors are really muted. They're very, very pastel-like. This one seems to be a little bit, just a little stronger. Just a little bit stronger. Let's look at the girl. Yeah. Look at that. And something, the difference in slight density, I mean, this is kind of losing detail here, and yet I have detail here. I can see the background in this shot, in this print. And this one here is kind of lost. It's kind of like the edges of her back, because this was lit beautifully. The edge, what would be like a contrast edge, kind of disappears here. And it is clearly displayed here in this print. So which is which? I think I know. Yep. Top is PC.SE. So this is PC.SE and this is OEM. And I really would have loved to have a perfect match, undiscernible. But again, that's as close as you can get, folks. And this is always, like I said in the beginning, letting the driver control color. That's it. Pro luster paper from Canon. Letting the driver control color. ICM matching. That's it. If you're a rank beginner, you want to begin to print now without having to worry about any kind of ICC profiles, this and that. Just use those settings. I have a 3-part video, actually 3 individual videos that I did very, very recently. Look at those. If you're willing to learn, please look at those 3 videos, and I will walk you through the process of simply printing on your Canon or EPSON printer, letting the driver control color, and assure, as long as your monitor is calibrated correctly, because you're going to be wanting to print your own images, of course, that you will have a match. Okay, because the biggest thing that will happen is that people will get such a bad match, they get discouraged and they stop printing. And that's not what we want to happen. Okay, we want you guys to get into this. If you're just getting into it now, if you've been an old timer, then you don't even have to watch this. So if you're getting into it right now, you want to be able to get into it, learn the process, of course, using OEM. But as you can see, I printed all of those prints with these set of cartridges, and they hardly dropped in level. And I was able to switch over to these. 1 cleaning cycle, nozzle check to ensure that I am running 100%, firing on all my cylinders, and then proceeded to print with the same exact settings that I used when I printed the OEM set. How was I able to achieve this? I'm almost 70 and my memory is not as good as it used to be. Qimage Ultimate allowed me to save that set of images as a job that can be then recalled. I called the job OEM, Pro-1000 OEM versus PC.SE inks on Pro Luster. Save it and then click on job. That way it remembers where each one of those images used to reside. Depending on how many drives you have hooked up to your computer, it will pull those. As long as you don't plug your drives, it will be able to recall everything and open up that job for you. I discussed a little bit of that during the live stream, but I'm going to do a video featuring just that in Qimage. And by the way, Qimage now has pretty much automatic color management feature built in. Really neat. Also, almost 100% suggestion of the correct profile to use if you're going to let Qimage Ultimate control color. That's enough. We've been on here too long already. I just want to be able to tell you guys that this has been a huge success for me. And I'm very happy for Precisioncolors and this ink set. Because if it didn't work out, oh my. That would have been a huge loss. All right, thank you so much. Don't forget to subscribe. As always, share with everyone you know who is a photographer, a printer, or even if you just love images, share with them. And of course, hit that like button, please, and subscribe with the bell turned on, and make sure that the notifications indicate that you will be indeed notified, because you can actually choose many other options to that. It's kind of a little weird option they introduced. Make sure you do that so you don't miss anything that we upload. Thank you so much. Happy printing, everybody. See that? Bye-bye. And also, happy Memorial Day.